Welcome to The Healing Artist. I am your host, Frida. Today, friends, I have a really fun story to tell you about our house. Now, if you've been along for my ride here on The Healing Artist, you have heard about going through the process of getting a new roof. Well, I want to tell you about how my husband and I have always had a little bit of a tricky situation around housing. So when we come to Earth, we have different lessons that we would like to learn. And one of the places in my life where I have had a lot of lessons is around housing. So living in the Bay Area, everything, add several zeros to the end of it. Like, this is just an astronomically expensive place to live. And classic story is when I worked for my sister in event planning. We worked for the uber wealthy. And I remember a client offhandedly saying one time that San Francisco was the only place that you could be where you'd be like a pauper by making $1 million a year. I know that's ridiculous, what they said. And simultaneously, I understand the energy behind what they said. I wanted to talk to you about our house. So my husband and I have had multiple tricky housing situations, from the first place that we lived to together in Oakland, to the condo that we ended up buying together, to now this house that we have now in the suburbs. When we bought this property, we were under a great deal of stress and duress. We sold our condo after spending the pandemic living in it. We sold it and we needed the condo money in order to have the down payment for the next property. Well, things are so intense here in the Bay. They aren't at this moment in time because we're actually involved in some sort of a weird housing bottoming out crisis. However, at the time, it is extremely cutthroat and it is very normal. You always have to almost always back in the day had to bid above and beyond in order to get one of these properties. And we're talking about like $100,000 plus more of the asking price, and that is very normal here. So homes would usually be priced even maybe a little lower than what they truly wanted in order to create these bidding wars between people to just bid back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And people will, it is pretty classic in the Bay Area to pay like $500,000 more than asking, or even more than that. Like it's pretty classic. You see stories like that. So my husband and I had been rejected from, I think, like 6 places we had put offers in on, and we were offering that extra money over and over again, but it was never like enough. Somebody always outbid us, and the homes, I guess, weren't in alignment. They weren't on our houses. And the place that we live in now, we actually got it because we did not win this house. We didn't win the bid. Somebody bid more than us. And then they ended up losing their jobs. So like several days after we were rejected from this property, we got a call and they said, "Do you still want it? You're the second highest bidder." So we ended up actually paying a great deal of money more than the asking price for this house. And at the time, we were just in such incredible, like we were so stressed out. We were living in Airbnbs for a period of time, like between the housing situation, and it was one of the harder times we've ever had in our marriage. It was like I thought I was at my wit's end, and I was doing an unbelievable amount of healing work on my own and trying to manifest this property and like just feeling into the frequency of it. And my husband was having such a hard time. Like this, I mean, we were both in therapy. Like this was in a really intense period. I do not know how to explain it. I was just weeping every day. It was so hard. The stuff that comes up with buying and selling homes is, it is like one of the harder 3D things that we do. At least it was for us. And like the fact that things cost so much more, it's like it feels insane and it's infuriating and it just feels incredibly unfair. And there's like a reason we love living in the Bay Area, and then simultaneously you just can't seem like you can't get a piece of it. It's very like, what is that book by John Steinbeck? The Grapes of Wrath. I think of that book often in terms of California. There's a lot of things there that are still happening today and mirror that kind of greed and ridiculousness. Where are we going with all of this? We've had a lot of issues with this house, and we paid an exorbitant amount of money for it because we thought that it wasn't going to have any issues. Well, that turned out not to be the case. And because we spent all of the money up front, we were not prepared or thinking mentally that we were going to have to accrue the amount of upkeep costs that this home has shared, like presented to us. Like that was not in the equation when we made the offer. We were lied to, we were misled, things were hidden from us, and like, man, all I can say is that, like, in retrospect, I would not have bought this home if I knew everything that I knew about it that we have come to learn while being there. And simultaneously, um, this is our home. This is the choice that we made. And I want to honor it and respect it and make it a beautiful home, because it is a beautiful home, because we live here and we can make a beautiful home. Things that I absolutely love about our house is it's very bright. And we recently, last year, gave it brand new, beautiful, energy efficient windows. And it has these beautiful windows, and it is a big, tall ceilinged, bright, bright light home. There's a lot of light in here. And other things that I really, really, truly love about it is I can clean it in like 2.5, 3 hours. So, but it's also big enough. So I have an art space and my husband has an office. And then we have our bedroom, and it has a living room and a kitchen. So it's not too big, but it's also not too small. It's big enough for both of us. It's the accurate size. Because we came from an 800 square foot condo, which was, we did everything with that space that we could, but it was a tight squeeze. So Corey and I have really had a lot of like disappointment and a lot of like feeling unfairness. And if I was going to say what we struggle with, it is stuff around housing. And specifically water and water damage. Now, I have done a past life regression where I lost a home in a flood. And I've also had other inclinations that I have had lifetimes in the past where major water damage has taken place in my place of residence, and that it has been like a great trauma in my life. And something that you may be aware of is like as we reincarnate and come life to life to life to life, we often want to repeat lessons, but we make them a little bit easier on ourselves each time we go. So this time around at the old house, the condo, the unit as a whole, we put like about $500,000 cash into that property, just trying to get it up to snuff because of the amount of water damage that had happened in that property and just making it safe. And we did this whole retrofit to it. We gave it an earthquake retrofit because it was a soft story. And a soft story means that it had garages below. So the way that it was built, it had that empty space. So we gave it a creme de la creme retrofit. So we've been through a situation where we spent a great deal of money and asset on a home, and then we just didn't want that again. We did not want a construction site as our next property because the construction at that other house we were like in construction with that, I think like 2.5 years or something. It was crazy. It was crazy what we did at that place. So we just did not want that. No, 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 no. And here we are at this place, and the previous owner had done sort of like what I now call like a lipstick on a pig style situation, which was they absolutely redid the entire inside. It had complete and total new drywall, complete and total new kitchen, new bathrooms. Everything was brand new. Floor, brand new paint job. Everything is new, but the owner did the work himself. He fancied himself a handyman. He was not, but and yeah, it looked really nice and new and shiny when we first bought it, to the point where we thought everything was perfect. And a lot of corners were cut. And as we have been here 2 years, just day by day, well, what's that? Well, what's that? Well, what's that? And it's just sort of like improperly appointed items within the home because it just wasn't up to snuff. And so there's been constant disappointment and like a coming to terms with like feeling duped, taken advantage of, having victim consciousness around housing. So I have done an incredible amount of work on myself in order to just get to neutral. And I want to love this house so much. Like, it's important for me to love it. And it's put us through the ringer, to be honest. It really has. So the other day, we were having someone come because, as you know, we got a brand new roof. And from prior roof failure, there were multiple places in the kitchen and the living room where there is water damage from the water coming in and being in the drywall. So we were having somebody come in to the home to assess that situation, to measure it, and to be able to come and do some drywall replacement for us in the home. And when he came this last weekend, he just had a little knife and like a saw, and he cut a couple blocks just out of the drywall just to inspect, to see what was going on. And when he was cutting one of the holes, I all of a sudden had just like this like outrageous back spasm on my right hand side, top shoulder, and it felt like this angry ball of electricity or a nasty cloud, or like, you know, that thing that travels around on top of the character Pigpen in the Peanuts cartoon? It felt like that with teeth, and it was attacking my shoulder. It was like almost like, I want to call it like an entity attachment or a hitchhiker, some sort of like energy just all of a sudden started attacking my body when he was cutting into the house. And I was just like, oh my goodness, what is that? Because I am incredibly sensitive. I know it's not mine. And I'm just like, what even is that? I guess I hadn't protected myself that day. Like, I mean, I had done a meditation that morning, but here I have this thing on my body, and I was like, holy gazzoli. And it really hurt. I mean, it was crazy. This thing is like really getting at me. Well, you know, all this stuff is in the invisible, so I didn't say anything. And the guy did the inspection on the house, and he ends up leaving. And I am like, oh my God, what is this? I need to go out to the woods and try to get rid of this. So I am able to move energy by going to the woods. I work with the land. I put my shoulder against a tree. I talked to the tree. It agreed to help work with me. The tree went into the shoulder, and we were working together to try to relieve this pain, and it dissipated a little, but it did not completely go away. So I came home, And I'm just like racking my brain. I'm like, because I can't connect with what it is. I'm too close to it and too annoyed by it. I'm just like, darn it, I do not want this thing attached to me. What is this? And I've had in the past, like, hitchhikers, like something has attached to my body and it's not mine and I have to get rid of it. So that is the closest thing to this feeling that I had. And then I'm asking it, is it this guise that came into our home? And the answer I'm getting is no. So I just cannot figure out what this is. And I was going to go lay in an Epsom salt bath to try to relieve it. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to call my sister and see if she can tap in and she can help me, because she's super connected now and able to do this work. And I'm like, I'm just going to call her and see if she can help me relieve it or like figure out what the heck that is. So I called my sister, and she immediately just started channeling our house. Bah! And immediately the house was weeping. The house was absolutely weeping, because another man has just come nonchalantly banging his boots through the home and is attacking the house, is cutting holes in the house. Why are you hurting me? This is awful. I'm so dark. You just keep ripping into me. Like this notion and the house was just crying and crying. And I was actually stunned. I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Immediately I just felt like, holy cazoli, because I have not connected to our home in that way. As a consciousness. Now, of course, our home is a consciousness, and I have made nods to it in the past, but I have not given it like a full, because I've been annoyed with it. I've been disappointed in it, and I've been angry at it at times. I'm like, why are you doing this? Come on, man. What is going on? Like, so finding out that the house was experiencing massive amount of guilt and shame and embarrassment, and it was just like, I don't want to let you down, and meanwhile it had this whole story which my sister brought to the surface for me, and she was seeing it like in her mind's eye and explaining it, and like she was channeling light language and then interpreting it. And this is what happened. When the home was originally built, there were time constraints around the home being built, and the people that were digging the hole of the foundation for the home were very angry. They were underpaid and they were angry. Now, I live in the first interracial planned community in the United States of America, which is so cool. I love that so much. So it had that feeling to it for me when we got this place of like equality, like that, like that's how cool is that? Well, meanwhile, the story that was coming through my sister was that there was a lot of greed and anger and frustration when this home was being built. So we actually live in the model home of the entire community. So we live in the home that was the showpiece to sell other properties for people to have their homes built. And the house from the start was so sad because the people talking about the home, it was under the impression that no one would ever live here. She also saw a vision of the home when it was being built. It was built in the rain, because they were on these like schedules that were ridiculous, fast-paced schedule. So that it was like the framework of the house and the framework of the house, the insides, and she saw the boards and the insides of the house just crying because the rain was just falling down on them. And she sensed the energy around all of these angry people working in the home. The electrician that came in to wire the home was angry. The plumbers that came in to wire the home were angry. There was just a lot of fuel for anger, and the home was just felt like an abused child. And she picked up on the energy of the home, that the home is actually it is an energy of everyone who has ever interacted with it, touched it, or been part of it. So the wood that it is made from, it's made from hundreds of trees, and that each tree has a piece of its energy in the home, as does the person who felled the tree, the person who drove it to the mill, the person who milled the tree, the person who sold the milled wood, the trucks that it came onto the location, the people involved in the buying and the selling of the products, the people that were involved in putting all of the nails in and doing the original construction and all of the things. Like the energy of all of those people and the energy of all of the materials, the supplies, the energy of where all of that was within the home. And it was funny because I asked the home if it had a name, and she said that the house was laughing and said, "I am Legion," as if, it is the idea, it was laughing at it because it would know that that was my sense of humor. And as if it is all of these different energies because it is all of these different things. So immediately to me, I went, okay, I wonder if there is a ritual ceremony that I can prepare and put together in order to harmonize all those energy frequencies and bring them into one, to create a balance and wholeness within the home. Well, when I talk to my guidance, the answer to that is absolutely yes, I can do that. Now that's something I need to investigate, and I'm also jumping ahead of myself. So continuing with her story, it shared it's terrified of water. It had never, corners were cut, things were done. It's just never quite had what it needed in order to be a roaring success, the home itself. So, and it said it's embarrassed because it likes Corey and I, and it wants to do right by us. And it said that it feels ashamed, and it feels ashamed because of the greedy, angry men that have been involved in the property, and that it has been completely influenced by these things over time, and that we are the first people to live here that are actually giving it respect and fixing it. We immediately put in a French drain when we first moved in here in order to help protect it from the rain. We have put on a new roof in order to protect it from the rain. We dug and did a whole septic. It's not called septic. I think it's called a cesspool, but it's not about septic. It's about rainwater, but like digging like a pit in the backyard, and like the drainage goes to the pit to then like go down into the earth and bypass the house and stuff. So like we did all of these things when we first moved in order to help keep it from the rain, because Corey and I totally have this weirdness with housing and rain and stucco houses and don't want it to absorb water and yada yada yada. So the two of us have stuff around water. Well, even just talking about the past life stuff that I did, you can see why we have like fear of water, and water stuff is something that has impacted us at both of the homes that we have owned. Because it's coming up again, right? We are learning the lessons around these things. Oh God. So the home sees us and appreciates what we are up to and what we are doing, but that it was feeling shame because it wasn't living up to our expectations, and it's like it can't do anything about it because it wasn't built right. And it's just like, it's sorry. It's like, I'm sorry. I want to protect you. I want to protect you. I love you. I want to protect you. I just don't have the tools. So all of this just had me in tears because I was an abused child, and the way that the house was talking, the house is a victim of abuse. The house has been victimized. The house is in victim consciousness. So like Corey and I were really, really heavily steeped in victim consciousness, and we law of attraction style attracted a home in deep victim consciousness. Well, here comes Frida, the light worker, energy healer lady. And immediately I'm just like, okay, well, I spent 2 years doing reparenting therapy on myself. I went through an entire process with the other home that we were in terms of like learning its history and connecting to it. I'm connecting to this house, and we are going to get you out of suffering, baby, because I know I did it for myself. So now I am on a healing journey with the home we live in. And the house and I are going to go on this adventure together. I'm going to do what it asks. And just like reparenting therapy, it takes several years for this kind of love and trust to come into place. Things that the house said it was terrified of was the washing machine, because it's terrified that the washing machine is going to overflow. Like, it's really scared of water. So it made me go, okay, well, I'll get a little switch so that we can turn the washing machine off when, when it's not in use. We can just like power it down so that it's not connected, and then the house won't be so afraid. It also requested light to be brought into the areas of the home where there isn't light. There's a few areas that are really dark. So I went to the store and I got the home some these little night lights in order to put in these areas to bring some light into the areas. I ordered some salt lamps that are coming in the mail that are just like plug-in things to keep, it's like a nightlight, but they're little salt lamps. So listening to the home and talking to it and valuing what it has to say, because it does love us and want to protect us. And it was saying all of the different things that it really enjoys. And we have turkeys in our neighborhood. It loves the turkeys. It loves the lizards in the backyard. It says it tickles them. A story for another day is how I removed a tree stump from our backyard by hand over the course of, I forget, I would have to go back on my calendar, but I think it was like something like 14 days it took me to remove that tree stump. But it loved watching me remove the tree stump and watching that diligence and working in the backyard. It loves the garden, and it loves that my husband loves to garden and take care of it out there. And the house said that it grows as well as it does because it wants my husband to love the house, because I know there's a lot of disappointment and anger here around that, And it was saying that it helps the garden grow well, so that he loves it. And would tear up like that, just like, oh God. It's just like that kind of proving energy, like it's improving, like it wants to be loved. It's just kind of like makes my heart go, oh God. It's like gives it a squeeze. I'm like, it makes me feel like, what can I do for you? Again, because I was an abused child. I was like, oh my God, how can I show up for you? Like, I know what it feels like to be this vulnerable and be this hurt and be in a situation where it's been nothing but yelled at and had a really hard time and not been asked if things could happen to it. At one point, I know in the past, when it was owned by the people that we bought it from, I know one section of the roof fell in and it was neglected for a period of time, and the walls were crying and weeping, and before we bought it, what happened was it had a major insurance claim brought towards it for it, and every piece of drywall, every piece of everything, it was stripped to its studs, sanded, and redone. So again, like when we bought this, we thought we were buying this like basically brand new house, because that's the way it was presented to us. And again, like, I don't know what to tell you except this housing market is a bugger and we were tricked. That's all I gotta say. And the house talks to us about the greed of the people that did the work and how they didn't do it happily when they were putting this back together. It was not put together with love. The people that were in here doing the work were really angry. So the poor house has felt a lot of fear, a lot of disappointment, a lot of guilt, shame, all of these different things. And immediately my heart just goes out to it and says, okay, well, I'll be here for you. What can I do for you? So the house says it wants to write a book. So the two of us are going to write a book. It already gave me a basic first draft. I channeled a book from the house the other day. It's mildly melodramatic. I'm excited to do this and share it with you because I think it actually makes me kind of smile. And but what it's done is I've become connected to the house in a way where it's one of the things that now I'm connecting to and just like tapping into. And I previously had not. To be honest with you, I don't think I was ready to because I was so angry at it in some ways. but I am truly, deeply ready. I swear, I'm like on my knees with this to God. I'm like, I am ready to no longer sit in the seat of victim consciousness around housing. I want to remove this from my system, root and branch. And part of me doing this, I feel like, is honestly reparenting a house. I'm going to do reparenting therapy on the home I live in. I'm going to give it a glow up. We're going to work together. I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to give it what it asks for. And I'm going to help it feel safe. And in return, it's going to love Corey and I, and it is going to keep us safe. And we're going to do really fun things in this home. And I'm promising it, I will throw a lot more parties. I love having parties, and I love having people over, especially my like little core family, what I would call my chosen family. I love having people over. I love feeding them and watching movies, and I will do as much of that as possible. And I promise that to the house. And it is much for us as it is much for me as it is for the house. So I'm actually leaving for most of the month of July to actually go house sit and dog sit and cat sit for my friends that live down in Los Gatos. And I wanted to do that because, you know, they have a really nice property, and it would be a different place to get away to in order to really lay out this book that I'm currently illustrating. So I knew I could get a lot of really good work done if I was in a place like that with just a lot of room. And the house was sharing that it's sad I'm leaving for 3 weeks. And I'm like, Corey will still be here. You're going to be okay. Like, you know, it's really interesting to be in communication with it because it is vulnerable. And like, God, I mean, being a victim of abuse and coming out with my original abuse, this feels so much like that vulnerable moment when I disclosed my own abuse. The house is like coming out of the closet with its own abuse. It is expressing the abuse that it's been through. And I just want to like take a knee and listen and be here for it and love it. And again, I've said multiple times, I'm just like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I was angry with you. And it understands completely. And it's also like one of those things like now I will practice self-forgiveness. I will actively move out of this energy of victim consciousness around housing, and we are going to turn this around. Listen, I did this once before at the property that we sold. We gave that building a retrofit. I learned everything I could about that building. I honored it. I gave it a ceremony. I did so many things for that house. I was in the library wearing little white gloves, like learning about it because it was a moved house. During the Grove Shafter Freeway project, they sold houses off for $1 and then they would move them on trucks to other areas of the city. And that's what that property was. So it had a lot of issues because it was a moved house. Like it had double sets of stuff, double sets of plumbing in the walls, double electrics, double, and freaky stuff. And they actually reconfigured that house. They put it together in a different way than it had been. So I did a whole honoring of it, like to honor the way it was, to welcome it to its new home. I did a lot of work on that place. So I absolutely know that I can do this for this house. I've had a crash course in that in the past, and I was not as tapped in spiritually as I am now, because now my clairaudience is just like fully online and I can just hear. So I ask the house questions and I just hear. It talks back to me. So by tapping in and by learning things, I am going to, and I'm making you this promise, it's always listening, by the way. It's excited that I'm doing this episode. It loves it. I am sharing with you. This is vulnerable to share with you in this way. I'm talking to you like we're friends. This is my life. This is my normal. I know. It's odd. It's a little odd. It's not odd for me. Not odd for me at all. This is life. Okay, friends. So I wanted to share with you where I was with all of this. And we're going to be checking in along the way because we're going to write this book together and we're going to learn how to bring the home into one unified unit. So that idea of like, I am Legion, the idea of it being dispersed, we're going to take that and we're going to bring it into one cohesive union. We're making union within. And then I have no doubt this is going to take time. Like, this isn't something that just snap your fingers and we're good to go. Because I know from my own reparenting therapy, when I was bringing my parts back, these different pieces of myself that had shattered off during these different incredibly traumatic experiences, I had to show up for those pieces. And over time, they learn to trust you in order to come home and integrate within and become part of the whole. So there's a level of like things and stuff to do to help the home actually feel safe. Like, it's terrified we're leaving. It's terrified we're going to sell it and leave. And it's just like that kind of thing takes time to show it that that's not true, that we're here and we're committed and all that kind of stuff. So far, like the day that I was in contact with it and spent a bunch of time with it, I ended up keeping the garage door open all day because the garage is actually one of the darkest places in the home because we're hardly ever out there. And I scrubbed around the garage door, and there was a caulking project. Like, I knew it didn't have flashing installed appropriately in an area, and there was some water issues with that. So I have been waiting for it to dry out, and I was like, you know what? It's dry. I'm gonna go do this. And I went out and like caulked. I washed it with TPS powder, and then I like caulked the external around the garage door. So we are starting on home projects together, and the house was really enjoying that. It really likes being taken care of and babied and feeling important. So I will continue with this, and I will continue sharing with this. This is going to be a journey we're going to go on, and I'll probably be talking about this house for a couple of years, honestly, because when you do reparenting therapy, it takes time. It takes time to trust. So I will periodically check in and talk about it because I think this is extremely interesting. And in talking to you about it, I would like to offer you, now you might not be clairaudient, however, everybody has some form of intuition. And automatic writing is a really one that you can really practice and learn how to use. Everyone has access to this. I promise you. It just takes practice. So what if you talk to your home? What does your house have to say to you? Like, please tell me in the comments if you do this. I would love to know. Because I forget this myself. I forget this sometimes myself, but everything has consciousness. Everything. Everything is in a vibrational energy, and everything has some form of a consciousness. And places that we live are really alive, and they're really alive with the energy that gets put into them. So yeah, I'm curious. Why don't you tap into your house? Try talking to it. I mean, why not? What can it hurt, right? I would love to know what your house has to say. What does it think of your family? If you are interested in meeting me, if you're interested in my program, Return to Self-Love, or a private session with me, any of the other offerings I have up on my website, fridahealing.com, reach out. You want to get on my mailing list? You want to know when the next full moon women's circle is? Let's be in contact. I would love to put you on my email list, and you can get on it by visiting my website, fridahealing.com. And yeah, life is good, friends. Life is good. We only know until we know. And I do believe in divine timing in all things. So I'm learning about this at the time when I am meant to learn about it in order to do something about it. It wasn't the time before. It is the time now. Okay, my friends, I love you. God, Universe, Source loves you. And I hope you have a wonderful day.